September is the first month of meteorological autumn, and the harvests are coming in thick and fast in the month of September. Winter is just around the corner now, so we're getting the beds cleared and we're getting them jobs done, ready for the winter ahead. There are a few things which you can sow in the month of September. I know I said in my August sowing video that it was your last chance to get veggie seeds sown, and it was your last chance for quite a lot of things, as it was getting quite late to sow some crops. But September is your last chance to get some other seeds sown as well before the winter sets in. But before we get into the September sowing video, if you find this video useful, remember to hit that like button and show your support. It really means a lot. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. What are we going to be sowing and planting in the month of September? So we'll just touch on a few things which we went over in our August sowing video, which you can also sow in the month of September, and then we're going to dive into the other crops and other things which you can sow in September as well. You can still sow some salad crops, especially the overwintering salad crops like this all year round lettuce, which I've already sown a few of. I've actually got a tray of them here. I sowed these right at the end of July and they're coming on really well now. I do need to thin them out a little bit, and they will go into their growing positions very soon when I start getting more beds cleared around the allotment. So we've got some of those which will be overwintering. I've had a really good year for lettuce this year, and I've had some really good pickings. And another leafy salad crop which I really enjoy is rocket as well. I love the peppery flavour that rocket gives. It really does add variety of flavour to the salads that you're making. Rocket's a really good one, and it's a super fast growing crop as well. I only sowed these around 5 or 6 weeks ago, and look at them. I've already had some really good harvests from these. I've had a few pickings. They're doing super well. Literally they've shot up like a rocket, look at that. So there are many different varieties of lettuce which you can sow in September, and rocket as well. We can also sow some spinach as well. This is perpetual spinach, and I've got loads of that on the go here for overwintering, and they're coming along really well as well, and they've grown super fast. And if you sow them in September, they'll come on really fast as well, because September is still quite a warm month. I know it is a cooling month, but we can still end up with some pretty good weather. Now there are two crops which will grow super fast if you sow them in September, and they'll give you a crop later on. You can overwinter these, and they are Mizuna and mustard. These grow really quick, and they're ideal for sowing in September. Now we've got some cauliflower all the year round which we can sow in September. We've got a few of those here. I'll show you those in a minute. Purple sprouting broccoli as well, a great one for the hunger gap. This will give you a harvest early in the growing season when nothing else is being harvested. So that is a great one, really productive as well. I've got a few of those here too. And spring cabbages as well. You can sow some of them in September and they'll come on really fast, and should hopefully get to a big enough size to then be overwintered. And you want them to get to a decent size before we go into the winter, so they have enough energy to survive. And you should be able to get away with that in September. I've also got some black Tuscany kale as well, which I've sown. You can sow some of them in September as well. So let's have a look at what we've got here already. We've got plenty of brassicas on the go. Really nice plants. We've got a couple of trays of purple sprouting broccoli. Nope, sorry, that's cauliflower. We've got a couple of trays of purple sprouting broccoli. Probably way more than we need there. Yeah, we've got plenty of plants there on the go. That's good. We've got some wintergreen cabbages as well. What the heck is that? So I need to pop these up into 9cm pots soon, and then I'm going to put them in my potato buckets when I've harvested the rest of them, and then I'm going to overwinter them. So that's my plan. They're coming along really nicely now, so that is good. And we've also got some all year round cauliflower here. These are just getting the tree leaves now as well. These will be potted on very soon as well. And some kale as well. These look really good too. black Tuscany kale, delicious by the way. I much prefer the black Tuscany kale to the curly kale. I just find that it's got more flavour in my opinion. It's just a preference really. So that is great, that is what we've got there with the brassicas. So brassicas, get some of them sown in September to overwinter. Now we've got a couple more things here which we also went over in August, but we'll go over them again. Radish, super fast growing things, they'll be ready to harvest in like a month or so. And overwintering spring onions, White Lisbon is this variety, and it's an overwintering, winter hardy variety. I've actually sown some of the spring onions in these trays here, in these modules. That's just what I like to do. I just feel like I've got more control over what I'm doing. If I direct sowed these outside, I probably wouldn't even see them, to be honest. They just get demolished by slugs. So I've sown them in here. I'm going to give them a head start, and then when I'm ready to plant all my overwintering things into their final positions, I'm going to just pop the modules out and pop these onions into their positions where I'm going to grow them over winter. So that's what I like to do with that. You can direct sow them if you want, but my allotment is just an absolute slugfest, so these won't stand a chance. Now, if you like broad beans, you can sow some of them in September and overwinter them. These are a super cold hardy crop. Sow these in September, overwinter them, and then you'll be picking some lovely beans next spring. I don't really like broad beans, I much prefer the French beans and the runner beans, but if you like broad beans, get them sown in September. Whilst on the topic of broad beans, if you're someone that wants to sow some green manures, you can sow some field beans, which are going to incorporate some more nitrogen into the soil. What you can do is you can sow them, and then you can let them grow over winter, and what they're going to do is they're going to store the nutrients in the plants, so the rain isn't going to wash all the nutrients away over the winter. So come springtime, you can just dig them into the soil and the nutrients will be brought back into the soil again. And beans are really good nitrogen fixers as well. They're good at putting nitrogen into the soil. Now you can also sow many other green manures in September: rye, forage peas, fast growing mustard and winter tares. Those are just a few of the green manures which you can sow in September and overwinter and then dig into the soil. They're going to retain nutrients, so the rain isn't going to wash them out of the soil, and it's also going to provide good ground cover as well, so the weeds aren't going to be as much of an issue. Now, moving away from green manures and veggie seeds, some bulbs which you can plant in September. Now, the first one, of course, is garlic. Garlic can be sown from September. There are two ways of growing garlic. That's planting it in the autumn and letting it overwinter, or planting it in the spring. There are different varieties of garlic for doing this, but I always start my garlic in September. I plant them around the end of September, and what I like to do is I plant them in module trays, let them grow to a few inches in height, and then I will plant them outside around a month later, towards the end of October. We had a fairly decent crop of garlic this year, so thankfully I don't have to buy any garlic to plant this year. I'm just going to plant what I've already got here, and that's fine. I'm self-sufficient with garlic this year, which is brilliant. And whilst on the topic of garlic, we're going to go over elephant garlic as well. Technically not actually a garlic, far from it in fact, it's actually more of a stem leek. And it's like a milder version of garlic really, and they've got some pretty impressive sized bulbs there. That is just one of the cloves from the elephant garlic bulbs, and each one has around 3 or 4 cloves per bulb, sometimes 5 per bulb. And I'm going to plant these around the end of September with my normal garlic there. I'm just going to direct plant these ones outside though, because I mean I'm not going to plant that in a module, it's huge. But yeah, I'm going to start these at the end of September. They're just for fun really. I enjoy growing elephant garlic, and they do make a really great addition to many different dishes like curries, pasta, even risotto, and they're nice just roasted on their own as well. So elephant garlic's a really nice one. Not for everybody though. Some people aren't so keen on it, but it's something that I like to grow over a year. Now, more bulbs to be planting in September. We can start thinking about tulips, daffodils, crocus, snowdrops, hyacinth, pretty much any type of spring bulb that you can think of. Start sowing them in September. You can also plant these spring bulbs in October and November as well, just so long as the ground isn't frozen. Now there are some more flowers which we can begin sowing in September as well, and those are sweet peas, preferably around the end of September, so we can have nice steady germination and steady growth through the winter months. Now, just like with the garlic, you can plant your sweet peas at 2 different times of the year. You can plant them in autumn and let them overwinter, or you can plant them in the spring. I usually plant them in the spring, but if you want to overwinter your sweet peas, you can get them sown from September. And you can also plant them in October and November as well, just so long as it's not freezing cold. Now you can start sowing some microgreens from September as well. They're going to grow super fast in September, any months beyond September, and you're probably going to want to be planting them at home on a windowsill or using a grow light system if you have one. But if you're sowing them in September in your garden or in your greenhouse, they're going to grow in literally a couple of weeks, because you're harvesting microgreens just before they get the first set of true leaves. So you're going to be growing them and harvesting them very similar to how you grow and harvest cress. Now there are many different vegetables which can be grown as a microgreen, but the best ones for growing as microgreens are things such as sunflowers, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, pea shoots, herbs such as parsley and coriander. These are really nice things to grow as microgreens. They're going to take literally a couple of weeks from seed to harvest, and they're going to be super nutrient dense as well. I'm not a nutrient expert, but I do know that microgreens are much more nutrient dense than the fully grown version of the plant. So if you're wanting to grow microgreens, you can get them sown in September. I've grown loads of different microgreens in the past, and I've had some really good success with them, and my favourite is sunflower. I really love the nutty flavour that sunflower microgreens have, and broccoli is really nice in a salad as well. I really like broccoli microgreens too. So still quite a lot of things which you can sow in September. Some of them are seeds and some of them are bulbs for overwintering. What are you sowing in the month of September? Do let me know. I'm interested to know what you guys are sowing. I do hope you found this video useful. If you did, then remember to hit that subscribe button so you can see more videos like this in the future. If you've got a passion for gardening and want to learn more about growing your own food, then hit that subscribe button. That's all for now, guys. I will see you in the next one. Happy gardening and stay safe.